The setting is Detroit, Michigan, deep in suburbia in the mid-1970s. A girl dressed for summer eats a popsicle and her music begins, a light, cheery playfulness abruptly cut off by the chilling sounds of water dripping and the scene of a 13-year-old girl's attempted suicide. This is the opening scene to Sofia's Coppola's 1999 The Virgin Suicides, a tragic coming-of-age slice of death drama/romance. In this vlog, we will look at some key themes of the movie and also the movie's colors, symbolism, and other cinematic language tools. When we close our eyes and think about the movie, and the first color to come to our minds when we think about it, we think of the color red. And this film is littered with the color red. The shirts, the ties, the cherry popsicle, Tripp's red car even. This color not only represents the eventual death that the title foreshadows heavily to us, but also the girls' virginities. Speaking of the girls' virginities, not all the girls were virgins, or was Lux in a sense. An insightful analysis by WordPress user appropriately named Suicide Blonde gives a great perspective of Lux's disappointing morning after wake-up call. The early dawn makes her skin pale and lifeless. This is her spiritual death. She is existing rather than living. Lux may have lost her virginity to the hotter teenage version of Lord Farquaad's hair, but she is still the poor, lost model of perfection that the boys of the neighborhood desperately thrust onto a pedestal. She is washed in a cold, unforgiving blue, a color used to represent reality, a color used in the therapist's office, the bathtub scene, and eventually the girl's last death sequence. What I want to touch on next is the symbolism in the movie. These girls are the most beautiful, most perfect, luckiest creatures on the face of the earth to the boys entranced by their very existence. Or are they? Symbols seem to say otherwise in the movie. When the boys come to pick up the girls for homecoming, the shot is just so that we can see the house number, the 7 on the end in a disturbing free fall off the house. Second, the whole idea of the trees very clearly represents the girls. This is Cecilia's tree, they say, putting themselves between the chainsaws and the tree Cecilia so loved. Eventually the tree is chopped, but not in time to catch the disease from spreading. After the girls' suicides, there is a shot of 4 trees standing side by side, all with a notice for removal signs nailed to them. The girls are the trees. A.O. Scott's New York Times review of the movie said it eloquently. They are beautiful and it's sad to lose them, but they have no inner life. Another symbol I want to look at is the idea of the Virgin Mary. We are meant to compare the girls to her as they both sacrificed their bodies and purity for a bigger idea. The girls just took a more final route to get there. Lux is also known as a Christ-like figure, but I also like to think of Cecilia as a Christ-like symbol too, but less so. When she throws herself out of the second-floor window and impales herself on the iron rod fence, she lands looking up, arms spread, most literally like Christ, and sparking the idea of suicide. The last symbol I want us to pay attention to is not one that the director or any other crew member gives us, but the one that the girls give us to interpret. It's a brief scene, but before their deaths you can hear Lux talking to her mother. "We're suffocating," she says. "We can't breathe in here." The mother essentially shrugs it off and tells her that she's safe in the house, and the scene ends. When we look at the last 4 girls' death, they are literally all suffocating. We can imply all we want from the girls' death and why they chose to die. Maybe it was the symbolism of suffocation of suburbia. Maybe it was the loss of purity or religious unconformity. We're never outwardly told. There were many factors, I think, that led to the decisions of the girls. One shot I think is a good example of this is the time-lapse of the house. In the beginning of the shot, the house is perfect and pristine, but as time passes and the negligence increases, the lawn is littered with dead leaves and rodent-terrorized trash. The girls' lives were neglected, and in the end, well, frankly, was the end.